Hey guys, Corey Wilson here. Having an issue with my wife's 2016 GMC Yukon XL, which the passenger side brake light, which is LED, has stopped working. The turn signals work and the reverse lights work, but the actual brake light strip is not working. I've been doing some online research, didn't see any videos that showed me how to fix this, so thought I would attempt to fix it today and make a video so that way somebody else who's having a similar issue has an opportunity to see how to fix it. What I believe is going on is on the circuit board itself. I believe that there is a break and that will have to be opened up and soldered and then put back together. These taillights are about $800 if you go to a dealership to get replaced. There's no way for them to repair it. They're going to replace the entire thing. So rather than spend $800, I thought that I would attempt to fix it on my own. So here we go. All right, guys. So what we've got to do now is we've got to take this panel off, and then we'll be able to pop this exterior panel off to give us access to the mounting screws that hold the taillight assembly in. So these are just held together with clips. There is a small torque screw up here that I'll have to take off, but I should be able to just pull this one off, I believe, because it just has clips behind it. So we'll go ahead and remove that. And then we've got one up here that requires a torque screw. And then I believe we'll be able to pull this one out as well. A little bit tricky. And that's all there is. See, it's just got clips behind it, and it's got that one screw at the top. And then if you look over in here, you'll be able to see there's going to be 3 screws here. One here, one here, and one here. And that's what holds on the inside of this panel. So I believe they're the same size. So we'll just have to take those out. This should pop off. That's really all there is to it. So that panel comes off, just set that off to the side. And now we've got a screw here. I don't see any other screws other than this one and this one. And then I believe that what you'll see over here on the outside is going to be 2 push clips that will just hold it in as well. So we'll take this screw off and this screw off. And we will we'll see if it can pull out. That's all there is to it. So those are those push clips behind here. And then, of course, you've got your wiring harness. You should have a push clip here to pop that out. That's all there is to that one. And then you'll have a light here. You have to turn it. It'll pop off. And then you get a little clip here that just holds the harness in. Sent it flying. And that's it. So then we're going to get set up here in the shop. We'll clean this up a little bit and we'll go over where I believe the circuit board here, and what we're going to do is we're going to melt the plastic in certain spots, which I think is going to be right here and over here.
We're going to melt through the plastic very carefully using the soldering iron, and then that will hopefully expose the two, what I believe will be two breaks on the back side, which is the circuit board. So we'll be back in just a minute and we'll be able to show you that. Alright guys, so we have the headlight out on the bench. I went ahead and marked out where I believe that we're going to have to burn through the plastic. Okay, now you can see I put little marks here and here. We're going to have to burn that little middle section out very carefully so we don't go too deep, because we don't want to burn into the circuit board. We're just trying to burn through the plastic so we can get access to where we have to repair it. And then also over here as well. These are the two spots that I suspect that it's broken, only because I've seen a lot of other posts, and I actually saw a picture of others that have been repaired, and those are the areas that it typically ends up breaking. So we're going to go ahead and use our heat gun, which this heat gun comes with a fancy flat iron that's actually at an angle, so it'll make it really easy for me to be able to burn through there very carefully without hopefully destroying anything else. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to set this camera up so hopefully you guys will be able to see, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, let's get this heat gun hot. This heat gun takes only about 6 seconds to heat up the temperature. It's a very good gun. And we'll try to melt this area out very carefully. I'm not applying really any pressure. I'm just trying to slice through it, kind of like you would take a knife and cut through butter, I guess, just a little at a time, until we get it opened up. See, it's about to come through because the plastic's starting to flex a little bit. Oh, and there's some exposed metal right there. So we'll carefully get that out of here. What we're going to be looking for is, once we get this off, is a crack in the circuit board here. So far, I don't see a crack on this side. I'm going to keep going a little bit further. Sorry about that. we do have a crack. So I'm going to show you here in just a second what I can see that you really probably can't see. There's a small little bridge right there. I'll try to get it to zoom a little bit. Right in the middle, just to the left of that circle, there is a small little metal connector in between there. That is broken, so that will not allow the electricity to travel from one side to the next. So that is definitely broken and will have to be soldered back together. So let's go ahead and check the other side while we're in here. We'll see if we can make sure that that side is good, and either way I will likely apply some solder to that side just because it's a more permanent repair. This is a very thin, small little area, and I want it to last. Okay, I don't ever want to have to do this again. So just like the other side, we're just going to slowly burn our way through the layers of plastic, taking our time. Remember, I've never done this, so you know, I'm a do-it-yourselfer, so this is definitely something that I think is within the realm of most do-it-yourselfers. I don't think it's anything that's overly complicated. Really just identifying where it's broken. Got a little bit of metal showing. Scrape the rest of that plastic off there. I'll try to find the bridge here. I believe it's going to be to the left. Sorry if you can't see it. I know my hand's kind of getting in the way. Try to get out of the way, but I gotta get in here. I don't see a break on this side so far. So far, so good. A tiny bit more and go from there. And I'm not seeing any break on this side. It looks like just that one side. So we'll go ahead and remove the rest of this clumped up plastic that looks ugly. And here, I'll move it over here. So you get this side where there's a break. Over here, it's looking like it's actually all together. So I think we're going to be okay here. We'll just have to repair this one side. But we'll go ahead and remove the rest of this clump plastic and make it a little bit easier, because we will have to reseal these holes once we get our soldering completed. So that's what I'll do now, and we'll come back when we start the soldering process. All right, guys, so while cleaning it up, I realized this other side has that same, what I thought was a break, but then I got thinking, that seems like those are isolated, meaning they shouldn't be connected, because they're both the same exact thing. So I did a little bit more research, and then I said, well, maybe I should go a little bit further, looking for what is clearly a crack. And lo and behold, that's what I found. So you see that? It's really hard. There, you can see the crack. The crack that is right there. Okay, that is the break in the light. See, that is what will need to be repaired right there. That one crack. I checked the other side, and there is no crack on the other side. So in doing some more research, these are normal, okay? Down here on the bottom, that you see on both sides that I've exposed. Clearly, that is not. Let me try to stop shaking here. That is not. So we're going to have to repair that crack. So I'm really happy that I actually took a step back, went a little bit further, but since most of you are probably doing this for the first time, you may be inclined to make the same mistake. And these two sides should not be connected together. They should be isolated. We definitely don't want to solder those sides together. We just want to look up that strip for that one crack. Okay, so we'll get ready and we'll clean this up a little bit, and then we'll do some soldering. All right, guys, so I needed some type of a wire to make, to bridge that connection. So what I did was I actually just found a piece of small copper wire. Copper will work well for this. So I used a small little piece of copper. What I actually did was, you can see that it's been, well, maybe you can't see, let me see. What I did was I pre-cut it. So that piece is just barely hanging on by a thread. The reason why I did that is because I'm going to set this piece on here like so, in its position. And then let me zoom here, or focus, and then I'm going to be able to solder that right onto there, and then I'll be able to easily break that wire off, because this metal that's under there is very thin, and so you wouldn't want to be bending a wire around and trying to snap it off. You might break the metal underneath. So I just pre-cut that wire just to make it a little bit easier. So we've got that in position. Go ahead and heat the solder gun up, and we'll be ready to rock and roll here with a little bit of solder. All right, so I think we've got everything in position. We've changed our soldering gun tip to the one that was included in the kit. This one is nice and clean, so we don't have to clean it. Otherwise, if you have an old soldering iron, you want to make sure that you clean it up using a wet rag once it's hot, and make sure you tin it, because you want to make sure that you get a good bond. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to fit this tip down in here. We're going to get this thing good and hot. What we're going to be doing is heating up the actual metal underneath with the crack in it, as well as the side of the small copper jumper that we made. And then once we get that hot, we will apply the solder to the actual hot metal, not to the iron. That's the big thing. You don't want to drip it on there. So I'm going to try to do my best to not get in the way of your camera view, but it might not work. So we're going to get this thing hot, and we'll start feeding it some solder. Whoops, well, that didn't work out so good. Try just soldering just the cracks for first here. It's getting hot. There we go, we're getting some solder now. All right, so we've successfully bridged that gap, but we're not real good. So we're gonna heat it up and do it a little bit better. I still wanted to add that jumper because I thought that it would be better than just solder, but I did get a small amount of solder across there. So we'll finish cleaning that up, and we might have to forego the jumper, unfortunately, because I just can't seem to get it all in there quite right. We'll see if this does the trick. A little better, still not good enough. Again, I am not an expert on soldering, so keep that in mind. But I think that will do the trick. Sorry, I know you can't see, but I've got to get this thing flat because the solder is moving just a little bit. Well, there is solder on there. It's an okay joint, but we don't want this thing to fail again. So I did get that soldered. You can see, let me focus here a little bit. There is a good connection now, but I really want to try to get this piece of wire on here. So I'm going to take a second attempt on there, because that will just provide an additional amount of strength to an already weakened area. I really feel like it's worth trying to do. Just a little tricky to get this thing to stay on here in the position that I want it at. So we'll give it another shot. See, it keeps moving. Some type of a little clamp would probably make this a little bit easier. I don't think I have one that will work for something like this. Try to solder just the bottom on, and then we'll mess with the top after. harder than I thought. All right, so it looks like I got a small little piece attached on the bottom. So I'm just gonna see if I can move this copper over into position. Now that I get it, the bond came off the bottom. I think that will work though. All right, so here's what we got going on. A little piece of copper wedged in there. So I'm going to try to dab a little bit on the top to bridge that gap right in there. I just don't trust that very thin metal now that it's already broke once. I want it to last. I'd rather have a solid piece of copper in there. So let's see if I can get it back in the frame here. So we're going to heat this piece up right here. It's kind of hard to do because I'm trying to keep this thing at an angle so that way you guys can see, but it's really a challenge. So you kind of get the point. So I'm gonna put the video on pause so I can get into a better position, and then we'll come back once we've got a complete product. All right, within just a couple of seconds of repositioning myself, I was able to get this thing soldered up, which is good. So you can see I got that piece of copper soldered in there, bridging that connection. And so I feel like we're going to be in a lot better shape, and that's going to last a lot longer. And we still have the repair underneath that I did as well. So the copper just adds an extra piece. So we're going to go ahead and plug this into the truck, and hopefully she works. So let's go give it a shot. All right, guys. Hey, before we test this light, I just wanted to show you that I actually went ahead and put a piece of copper wire on the other side as well. The same, so I did both sides. Even though this side wasn't broken, I felt like if this side broke, then I might as well go ahead and strengthen this side so that way it doesn't break in the future. I don't want to ever have to fix this light again, so I went ahead and did it. So I've got my helper in the vehicle, so we're going to go ahead and plug this thing in and give it a test here, so that way we can see if what we did fixed it. Go ahead and press the brake light, and as you can see, the entire LED strip is working, so this light is fixed. Thank you. So now all we need to do is we're going to actually just take it back out, and we're going to go ahead and seal up those holes. And to do that, I'm going to use some epoxy. So we'll go ahead and disconnect this light, and then we'll go back into the garage and we'll prepare to seal up these holes. All right, guys, so we're back in the garage. Here's the product that I've chosen. It's just what they had had at my local parts store. This is some JB Weld. They call it plastic weld. I'll put a link to this as well as the other products in the section below the video. So just go ahead and take a look at it if you want to order these products. It'll be easy for you to be able to find. I chose this one because it cures in an hour and set time in 5 minutes. It means it'll be as hard as a rock within an hour, but it'll be dry to the touch within about 5 minutes. So it gives you a little bit of time to work with it. And they do have products that can cure in 5 or 10 minutes, but those have a lower strength rating, and also I find them just more difficult to work with because you only have a very short window of time to get the product applied before it hardens. So this is what I chose, a JB Weld plastic weld. Word of advice, wear some gloves because this stuff is pretty nasty stuff to get on your hands. Can make a heck of a mess for sure. So we'll go ahead and open up this product, and we can get everything set up so that way you guys can see. All right, so what you want to do is open it up. It's a two-part epoxy, which means that it's going to mix together, and when it mixes, it's going to harden. So we're just going to open it up. There's a little stir stick that's in there, and put it on a piece of cardboard or something else. I've even used the inside of this plastic before when I've used epoxy on other stuff, but today I'm just going to use this piece of cardboard because it works better. All we're going to do is stir it up, and then we're going to use that little spoon to apply it. And we're going to completely coat that entire thing to seal it, because we want to make sure that no moisture can get in there. It doesn't matter what it looks like, but we just want to make sure that there's no moisture. Just stir it up a little bit, because you want those two to mix together, and that's what causes it to harden. And you can just start scooping it on. I'll probably put a couple of layers of it just because I want to make sure it's really sealed. And I've got enough of it. This is one-time use stuff, so you might as well just coat it right on there good. You won't be able to use it next time. Alright, so I'll show you where we're at right now. I've just got this stuff kind of applied. I put some on the side just because I had some extra anyway. It was a little tricky because it wants to fall between those cracks. So I'll just do a little bit and it'll harden up, and then I'll do a little bit more. You can't see it, it is clear. And it's going to dry clear. I figured I'd leave it that way, just so that way I can see it in the future. If I ever have a need to get in here, I'll be able to. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to do 2 coats of that and wait for it to harden up, and then we'll go ahead and reinstall our light. All right, guys, so we are all set and done the job. Went ahead and put everything back together, which was just simply doing everything that we did in reverse, and the light is working. So very pleased with that. One lesson that I did learn is wait for the epoxy to gel up just a little bit before applying it, because as you can see, a couple of the drops of epoxy did come through, and those are now on the inside of the light. I don't really personally care about it because it's just a couple of small drops that nobody else will ever notice, but nonetheless it did happen. And if I had waited, say maybe 3 or 4 minutes before I put the epoxy on there, it would have thickened up and it wouldn't have dropped through those little cracks. But this being the first time I've ever done it, I'm pretty pleased that, one, I was able to actually do it and save myself about 800 bucks. But 2, I really actually enjoyed doing this job. So for about the cost of about $40, I was able to complete this entire project on my own. So I hope this video helps you guys. Please click subscribe, and if you're looking for any of the products that I've utilized, go ahead and check them out in the comments section. If you like the video, subscribe. Please click like the video, and leave me a comment if you have any questions or concerns. Thanks. Bye-bye.